Hey everyone, we're here with Adam Biggs of the fucking massive Rivers of Nile. You should fucking know him. Absolutely. They have a new album coming out May 30th on Metal Blade. It is a self-titled album. Adam, correct me if I'm wrong. Is this the first album post Jake?
It is, yeah, indeed. Yeah. The first album
Awesome.
post JK.
Well, I'm not going to ask about the Jake shit because I'm not into fucking clickbait and all that. I really dig the album. I think it is a solid piece of fucking work that holds ties to like what I know Rivers of Nile to be, and you guys have really grown, I think, as a band with, adding some new elements in there, which is fucking fantastic.
Sweet. Thank you, man. I appreciate that.
So for you, when you guys started writing this album, what did that process look like?
Well, it started kind of like, I guess the very beginning of this one started out because we were touring a lot and Andy had just joined the band. So we started toying around just during our sound checks with the suborbital blues riff, that dun 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 dun. We did that, and eventually, like we can never like get anything done in a room together. Like it's impossible. But we were toying around with this idea and like a couple others on tour, and then they ended up getting taken home. And at the beginning of these processes is always slow. Like it's a lot of like because Brody does like a lot of he'll just demo a whole song or a piece of a song just on his own because he has the technology and the brain power to make that happen, whereas the rest of us not so much too I'm much too stupid for it. I know that. But he'll sit there and he'll make a song, a clip of a song or something, and then send it around to the rest of us for opinions. And I like that song, Suborbital Blues, which was the first one that we wrote with this lineup. Like we kind of wrote that by committee. Like all got on a call and like just kind of hash it out and be like, this should happen, and then this should happen, and this and that. But then like once that gets rolling, then Brody kind of gets a flavor for it after a while, and like it tends to be like less editing as time goes on. Like he's just like by the end of the record, he's just cranking out whole songs, just that don't even really need to say much about. Like I'm like, like by the time I had the instrumental for the song "The Logical End" in my ears, I was like, this is it's perfect. Like I don't need to like touch it, remove anything. I can hear exactly how the vocals are gonna work. Like Brody just once he gets the vibe of a thing. Sometimes it takes sometimes it takes one track, sometimes it takes five until it starts rolling. But once it goes, and next thing you know, we look up and there's a finished record.
You're like, holy fuck, like that's cool.
Yeah, yeah. This one especially felt like that. Like this one, like even Brody says is like it just feels like it wrote itself.
I think that's what most musicians like strive for.
Yeah,
Some really like spend so, like so many hours just really focused on details of a song, and they're like, man, I wish it would write itself. And then other times it's like, holy fuck, here it is.
yeah. I mean, I feel like once there's the bones of a song, and you can kind of see where that's gonna go. We'll do that, and we'll consider it like this is a workable song in and of itself. But then we do really go back under with the microscope, and we're like, you know, adding saxophones and mellotrons and all kinds of extraneous nonsense, and like samples of dogs barking and stuff like that. And we're just trying to get the mix right on all of that kind of stuff. And yeah, so it does become a really inner working operation, but that feels like the fun part at this point for us. It feels like the time to work in, to bring the songs to life with a little extra magic and stuff like that.
That's cool. So I'm totally opposite. Like you want me to, if I was to sit in front of a board and really get into like details of shit, I would be bored as hell in about 5 minutes. Like, nope, I can't do it, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it helps that we work with Brody and like the producers that we work with who are fast, and it's like if I say like, what if we had this thing happening here? or like this weird vocal effect, or like we can, like within moments it happens. And so I have that. I'm like, have that impatience myself, but like I'm the guy who's gonna like think of the thing, but then they can just make it happen so fast that that's what makes it fun to me. It's like, oh, I can see this come to life right before my eyes. Like,
Yeah. That's really cool when you're like, hey, I got this thing, like boom, it's there. Hell yeah.
yeah, yeah.
That's fucking cool. Like, you guys have the sax, I think, has done really well for you all, right? Like the first, like in my mind, the first like metal, like extreme metal band that had, the sax. And I like that it wasn't just like hey, we're gonna do this once or twice on this album. And the way you guys put it into the songs, it's very like not like, hey, this is just an extra piece. Like it fits really well with everything you guys do.
Yeah, I think some, sometimes I feel like, yeah, I mean, I think what happens is like when those instrumental pieces are coming together as a band, and then like the first, like reference the first time we ever used the saxophone, which was in a song called "The Silent Life," and it was just like we had this long kind of airy chill section where I didn't feel like there was any room for extra vocals. There was a guitar solo in the second half of this thing. Like this other part was just kind of barren and just hanging there. And I was just like, well, what else could we do with this? And we had a friend who's a good saxophone player, and we just sent it to him, and we were like, what do you think you could do over this section of the song? And he sent us, a rough draft back, and we were like, this is what we need to do. It was pretty immediate. And then so once we did that, I feel like writing it into the songs became like we write a thing, even with this new album where we are kind of like, maybe let's focus on it a bit less, the saxophone. Maybe we'll do one or something like that. But then like as we're writing, we're like kept running into situations where we're like, could put some here, like could put some there. It might be cool over there. And it's just like, yeah, fuck. I guess maybe we are married to this thing,
Well, I
but
mean,
it's cool. I like it. Yeah.
I think at this point it's kind of become the rivers of it. It's the rivers of Nile like sound, you
Yeah,
know?
right. It's just, yeah. I think that's the thing is it's just, it is synonymous with. And at first, when people started really latching onto it, and like just it felt making it kind of made us feel like, oh well, now we're the sax band or whatever. But we kind of like, I feel like we kind of shied away from that for a while, and we were like, we don't really need it. Like we don't really owe our lives to this particular instrument or anything. But I think we've gotten to a point where we're like, no, it is cool. It is part of what we do, and I don't think we want to be ashamed of it. And
Right.
I don't think it's like, I wouldn't say it's gimmicky, because we use it in a real musical fashion, and we consider it like any other element we would use. And I love that sound, and I love plenty of bands who use those sounds, like older bands like Pink Floyd and King Crimson have horn sections in their songs, and those kind of, I feel like a saxophone and a distorted guitar fit really well together, and it's able to speak with another kind of human voice, that like a human-esque voice in sections where you might not have that going on. It's a really versatile thing, and it's been really cool to explore that instrument in the context of what we do.
Well, yeah, and I think that it's a good point, throwing back to like Pink Floyd and King Crimson, but there's not a heavy band that incorporates, I don't think incorporates horns like that. You guys do it in a way that you nailed it. It's not gimmicky, right? It fits the songs well. It's not just there to be there. Like it adds that extra layer to the songs. Like I can tell you with the Silent Life, my kids, dude, my kids fucking loved it. We'd get in the car and turn it on. My daughter'd be like, I fucking love that sax.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, my 3-year-old, he loves it. He hears it. And he's like, sassy phone, sassy phone. That's what
Hell yeah.
yeah.
Well, so I think like when the Silent Life came out, what was that, 2018, 2017?
It was 2018, yeah.
So my daughter was probably 10-ish.
Mm.
So I was like, that's fucking cool. Like
Yeah, that's cool.
get my kids into it. And speaking of like back then, you guys toured with Lorna Shore back in like 2018, right?
I think the first time that we actually toured them was 2019 on Summer Slaughter, um, in the States. Yeah, I think we did a couple tours with them that year. We did that Summer Slaughter, and then we did the a Fit for an Autopsy tour with them as well.
I would have swore that you guys, maybe it was a one-off show. You guys played at a strip club here in Louisville. You played at Trixie.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. We weren't on tour with them, but it was a one-off show we played with them.
That
Yeah, I
was,
think maybe we were on our way to Summer Slaughter or something. I can't remember, but yeah, it was that was the first time we met those guys.
yeah. I remember that show. I took my daughter to that too.
That was
She was
sweet.
like,
Yeah,
"This is so cool."
yeah. Well, that was a fun night.
Yeah, that's so weird though to like half of it's a strip club, half of it's like live music.
Yeah, I mean, like we just were in Europe and we played in like the side room of the Moulin Rouge. So I was like when I got off the bus in the morning, we were parked at the Moulin Rouge, and I was like, and our bus driver was like, the door's there, and I was like, you're hilarious, dude. Like we're not playing in there, and he's like, no, it is there. I'm like, okay. And then I go in, I'm like, oh, there's a venue in here. It's like the venue and then like the burlesque club next door. So
Yeah, that's freaking
it
cool
it happens. It happens all around the world.
for sure. Burlesque and I think is a little different than a strip club.
Yeah, right, right, right.
Just a little.
Yeah, yeah.
So, when you guys started Rivers and Nile, like, did you think we're gonna fucking write a song and blow up and do all this shit, or was it just like, hey, let's play some shows and have fun?
Well, I mean, I think I can't speak for everybody who was in the band at the time, but I think we wrote our first couple songs, and like this was MySpace days back then, and there was a minute where that stuff felt like it was really catching on, maybe just, in relative terms to what we had known from playing in our local scene. Like it was getting like our first EP, like there was a period where it was getting a couple thousand, listens, a day, like 4,000 listens a day, like on the each song. And like that was like a big number back then, especially for a band that was unsigned. So I guess maybe we got a little like, when that started happening, we were like, let's go, let's get on the show on the road. But as it turned out, it took a lot longer than that, and like it just, we did a whole other EP that like it just kind of like, which I like, and it got, but it didn't carry the same weight, but then somewhere along the road, we just kept going, like we were just like, there were always shows being offered to us, and we were always, trying to do the next best thing that we could do, and that, I guess that's really it. Like it was just like there's always been breadcrumbs of new thing, new thing, new thing. There's never been a reason to slow down. But I can't say that we ever thought, like, went in thinking like we're gonna just be huge. We're gonna be like, look at us. There's
Right.
that was not really on our minds. I think we were always kind of prepared for maybe the possibility of, it being a kind of slow crawl for us, like being a band with a deeper catalog, maybe that takes some time to get into, which is also, it's a cool approach. I can't, yeah, like, because I can't say that like we ever really thought that it was a possibility for us to just step in there and boom, just explode.
Right. Well, and thinking back, especially to those MySpace days, it was, you know, I don't think there were a lot of heavier bands that were like just jo I don't as big as they are now. You know what I mean? Like I feel like
Yeah, 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 like, yeah, like I mean, as big as they felt back then, like I would, log on to like, when I think of MySpace, I think of like Suicide Silence, Jobber Cowboy, and bands like
Yeah.
that. And they felt like huge bands at the time, but in my mind, but like, and they obviously got huge and got really big, but it, those they also had to grind and climb up the ladder of playing live and stuff, and just it wasn't going to be this huge pop maybe, but yeah, it's hard to say. It's different for everybody. It's
Yeah.
really just it's just everybody's path is just a little bit different.
Yeah. And some of that is, I don't want to call it luck, but it kind of is, right?
Yeah, it is. It's luck, but it's also it's like it's yeah. I guess you could say it's luck, but I feel like it's maybe a little reductive. Like it's like you can say that like this band just got lucky, or maybe they pressed the right button at the right time. Like they used their like whatever they're doing to tap into the zeitgeist of what people want. They did it. Like whoever, like it's easy to like think of like a band like Lorna Shore just exploding seemingly out of nowhere. Like they've been doing music that sounds pretty much like them for a long time,
Yeah.
and then they had the right moment with the right guy. The new singer steps in, does this wild thing, and like next thing you know, it's just like that's what now it's the standard. Like it's
Yeah.
and it's which is super cool, and like really really stoked for those guys, and they deserve it 100%. But it's like they definitely hit that right button at the right time. And it's hard to say, just because I don't think there's a formula for it. I guess it becomes easy to call it luck, but
Well,
these guys knew what they were doing, I think.
probably to an extent, but what do they say luck is? Luck is like preparation and dedication, right? And
Right, yeah.
it so you always prepare for when you're in that spot, and when you're in that spot it happens and goes. Like it's not, luck isn't like a roll. It's not a roll of the dice that everyone thinks that it is.
Yeah.
Like you
Right. I mean,
guys,
it
you
seems
know
it seems lucky, but it's like that is like you got to be able to like grab onto that. If you notice that spark of something big happening, like you got to be able to grab onto it and figure out how to keep it going and remain attached to it, which is, harder than I think a lot of people know it to be.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, it's one thing to get into the position, and then to be able to hold that position or push it a little further is
Yeah, or even maintaining it at all. Like it's just, a lot of people experience like a lot of like, things blow up and they're just an overnight thing, and whoever did them, if it's a song that gets really big, maybe the artist just doesn't have the infrastructure in place to make it so they can continue to be that big. Like some people just get so unexpectedly huge so quick that they can't even respond because their
yeah,
thing isn't in gear. But yeah,
yeah,
so yeah, preparation has a lot to do with it.
for sure. What moment was for you where you were like, "Holy shit, like
Uh,
this is something."
I'm still waiting. No, no, no. A moment for me. No, it's like there have been a few. There have been a few. Like I mean, like I think that I'm joking about that, but there's a dark truth behind that. It's just like feel like I said, it's like there's always more to do. It's like we're never satisfied. Like
Right.
with the thing. Like I feel like I could count on one hand or less the amount of times the band has sat around and been like, "That was really cool that happened to us." like, like it's so like we're so like like
We're so jaded. Everything's awesome. We're
it's
cool.
it's just like it's not that it's not a jadedness, but it is kind of like maybe we're just always expecting another if when something cool happens we're like, well, where's the other shoe, or like which I'm not saying that that's a healthy way to look at things, but or like
That's part of it. Is
it is definitely it. Yeah, I mean, like, there's been some moments that I like, going, signing the record label was a huge to Metal Blade was, that was a huge deal for us. Then actually going down to Florida to record our first record was That's a big one. And then like going to Europe for the first time, huge. Like it's just, and then like the explosion popularity of Where Owls Know My Name, big stuff. But I feel like we're just always just kind of like we're always just keeping our head down and just kind of being like, yep, let's plow that field, I guess. Let's get her done, and
Yeah.
we just move along with our day.
I think that's a good way to look at it, right? Because at that point, it doesn't really get to your head like, look at me, I'm fucking blah blah blah, you know?
It's like yeah, but it's like I sometimes I think there's people people out there who are really successful because they're working hard, but then also being kind of arrogant about it. Like I feel like people respond to that in a way where it's like yeah, that guy is the shit. Like he's walking around like he's the shit, so he must be the shit.
I don't think that's the way that it goes. You know, I guess, there's probably a little bit of like salesmanship in that like
Sure, yeah,
arrogance,
yeah.
right? I think the successful people are the ones that really just like nose to the grindstone, let's fucking
Yeah,
do it.
you just show up for work, Like I feel like that.
Yeah, for sure. So with Rivers of Nile, the new album, do you have like any goals or thresholds that you'd like to see it meet?
I mean, yeah, of course, like I can't like I always just want to see it do better. Like I would love to see it hit you know record sales and Billboard numbers and like have it like peak interest of people to where we're getting offers nonstop. But yeah, so I like to keep my expectations kind of uncapped. Like what and but it's just like with that knowledge of like we're gonna do whatever we'll do the best with whatever we can from what comes to this. Like I think it's a thing where like we made this record, we all really believe in it, and I think it speaks for itself, and we're gonna put it out there, and you know well, if it creates that spark, then we'll grab it and then we'll get to work. But it's hard to say if it doesn't hit a certain Billboard chart number or like something like that, like I'll still walk away and be like, I think that record's great. Like I think I'm really proud of it. You know.
That's a good way to look at it. I think that most artists, when they look at their latest album, they're like, this is our best thing ever. Do you feel like that's where you guys are with this?
I mean, kind of like I don't know, like if I had to, like, and I'm not a big fan of like throwing down a bunch of malarkey in order to do that, but I feel like it's true to like if you don't think that the newest thing that you did is your best thing, then why did you do it? Like it's kind of
Yeah.
but I truly feel that way about this record. Like I love it. I love playing the songs. I think it's the catchiest material that we've ever made, which is an interesting thing for an extreme metal band with like blast beats and growls to,
Yeah.
be proud of. But so I think that in and of itself is interesting and makes me proud of the thing, So yeah, I'm really stoked on it. I can't wait for people to dive into it more. Yeah.
Yeah, me neither. I think people are gonna be pleasantly surprised because it doesn't sound like Owls, you know what I mean? It doesn't sound like the work. Like it has some elements in there, but it's definitely like what Rivers of Nile to me is today.
Yeah, yeah. I mean that was like the MO of this record, I think, was, like what defines who we are now with this lineup and all the members just like firing on all cylinders, like just expressing maximum potential, which is something we always try to do, obviously, but now we're in a different configuration and felt like we have something to prove, maybe, to people who are fans of the older material and this new era of the band. So yeah, and I don't know. It feels like I'm excited by it to the point where like I can't wait to make more, and push past this part. I'm already ready for another chapter, but that's discounting the years of fun I'm about to have playing this stuff live for
I
people.
I don't know that it's discounting that, right? It just shows that you enjoy the creative process of where you guys are. And I think for any band that you should be very proud to be excited to like I love this version of us. Let's create more. Like I can't
Yeah.
fucking wait to create more.
Yeah, man. I'm excited to see where it goes next. I feel, just as much as any fan. So that's, I would say, so that's what's, yeah, that the creative process is the most fun part to me, bar none. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Well, aside from the creative process, you guys have some fucking tours coming up.
Yes. Yes, we do.
What's this next one? Holy Fawn, Inter Arma, and Glacial Tomb?
Correct. Yeah. And all across the US and some parts of Canada.
Good old Canada.
Oh yeah. Getting back up there. Yeah. Yeah. Getting back into the touring life. Always fun. Like we just did Europe last month. So, quick break home and then we'll be heading back out there. So yeah, so it's just it's very exciting, and I think it's going to be a great show. And we're going to be repping a lot of new material. Favorites of course as well, but the new stuff is what we're into right now. What we want to show you guys. So that's
Hell yeah.
so that's yeah. So that's what we're excited to do.
So how is that for you, like on the vocals?
The new stuff, to be completely frank, I guess the new stuff I enjoy a lot more performance wise because it's it feels like I love playing the old music, but it does feel like I'm kind of a lot of times kind of guessing at the kind of some of the finer details of the vocal performance in a way because it's not my voice that I have to reference the
Yeah.
recorded version. And I want to do justice, and I want to do my own thing. So it becomes but it's also like a lot more heavy lifting on the older material. Like on this new stuff, like there's choruses where Andy sings like all the time. So like I can really put some effort into the verses and the parts that I sing, and like I really know every nook and cranny of what my voice is supposed to be doing at any particular time. And then I get to take a break, and Andy gets to sing for a little while. So that's nice. Whereas like the older material is just like it's just your boy just hammering it for 6 minutes at a time.
You're like, fuck. Andy, get some fucking vocals in there. Shit.
Yeah, yeah, no, for real. I've had to. There's been uh, some parts where I've had to be like, all right, Andy, Jared, you're gonna learn how to scream for a little bit, so I can have you cover this and that. Like, you know, but yeah, it's fun either way. Certain songs are even newer ones. Some of them are hard as hell for me, but
Yeah.
that's the way it goes. So the way it's always going to be. If it's not hard, it's probably not that good.
Yeah. If it's not hard, you're probably just phoning that shit in.
Yeah, nobody likes that.
No, I mean, I'm sure someone likes it, but not me.
Not me. Well, nobody I know of. Nobody I'd like to meet likes a
That's fair.
phoned
Yeah.
in performance.
Yeah. No, that shit. You're like, what is he? He looks
Yeah.
like he's bored, like yawning and shit. What's going on?
Yeah. I mean, if we're talking live performance, if I see some guy out there yawning or not looking like he's having a great day, I can look at that and be like, "Ooh, yeah, probably got in a big fight with his wife before he got getting on stage, or drove for 30 hours or something." Like I can really empathize. It's
That
tough.
though.
It's tough out there. Tough out there.
Oh, that's the hardest thing, though, especially for I think fans going to a show. You want the band to give it their all, and I know everyone's got their off days, but man, sometimes you're just like,
Yeah, I never I hate that. And that's kind of ultimately what led me to being in the position I am now doing vocals is I hate not giving people what I think that they paid for. It was because I had to step in on a tour because Jake, when Jake left the band, it was very abrupt and like we didn't know it was going to happen. He's just gone one day, and like for reasons that are entirely unimportant, but it was just the way it was. And we were doing a performance of our last record, start to finish, on this tour that we were doing, and like we were just for about a week we were playing without just with him gone, and then the rest of us doing what we would normally do. And it got to a point where I was like, I feel like we're ripped, like this feels like a rip off. And I got to a point where I was like, I got to do something. And so the one night I just started singing the parts, and it probably wasn't awesome, like, but I surprised myself in a lot of areas. I was like, I didn't know I could sing and play this, but I'm doing it. And then it just got to the point where I was like, I need to give people the full performance of this album as best as I can, given the circumstances that we're in. So I feel, yeah, as much as I empathize with the guy who gets tired on stage and is, beat up from the road, there's as much of me in there that goes, suck it up, Buttercup. You got people who pay good, hard-earned money to stand in front of you. You're dumbass. Like, just do it. Just like that's what goes on in my head when I'm getting out there and doing the thing.
Yeah, I think that the flip side of it, it sounds like you're really thankful to be in the position that you're in.
Sure, yeah, of course. I mean, it's every little 12-year-old new metal kid's dream to
Yeah,
get out there on tour one day, and that was me. Just listening to Rob Zombie in my bedroom, hoping that I could go on tour one day and make music that people would like as much as the stuff that I was enjoying back then. I've achieved, I'd say, many, many pieces of that dream to a degree that that makes me happy to think about. And hopefully more in the future.
yeah, I think you guys have seen more success than probably 99% of the bands that get together, which is I
Yeah,
think
I'm
from a
thankful
fan's
for,
perspective, it's fucking awesome.
yeah, and it's just, I understand how hard it is. I mean, I'm super thankful to be in this band with other people who are, even the guys who left eventually, who are all, everybody was always dedicated to the cause at one point or another. And I'm super thankful for all of that and everybody who's ever been in the band.
For sure. Yeah, I mean it's the collective is what has gotten you all to where you are today.
Yeah, I think that's the major difference when you're talking about, that 99% of bands is, even if you have a guy who's writing cool songs and, has really neat ideas, it's hard to get people to collaborate all the time. They also believe in your vision, and the fact that, we've been able to keep that going is, yeah, I guess we talk about luck a lot on this
Yeah.
chat, but yeah, I think that's maybe the most lucky part. I found people like Brody and Andy and Jared that are really just down to do this till the bitter end.
Yeah. I mean, just Jared is what, the fourth or fifth drummer?
He's lucky number four, but he's been in the band now for since he's he's joined in 2017. So yeah, he's
Yeah.
been rocking with us for a long time, and I would be devastated if that were ever to change. So
Yeah,
he's
well, I think if he left, it would change the dynamic of the band.
yeah, I don't even like to think about it. It's too scary.
Yeah,
That's my
he's a badass drummer. Like
that's
that's
my
the
that's my boy right there. That's my brother. So
oh
if
yeah,
is easily one of my best friends, and just an amazing drummer to play with, and he cares so much about what he does, and he cares so much about the band. Yeah, it's amazing to have people like that in your life.
hell yeah, it is. Especially like I'm a little bit older. I grew up in the time when there was all the drugs and all the alcohol and all the bands fighting on stage. Like what the fuck? Those were the days.
Yeah,
Ah,
so I hear. So,
yeah,
yeah, well, I've always been a little too timid for all that. I've never been a big drinker or anything like that, and when it comes to bands airing their grievances upon one another, like I'm very much like, why aren't we all here for the same thing? Like I thought,
right.
you know when people start fighting over drugs and alcohol and women and all that stuff is just like, man, you guys are missing the point. Don't you remember? Don't you remember what you
Yeah.
came here to do?
Well, back in my day,
Yeah, back in your day, they came for the other stuff, and the music
it,
was
yeah,
secondary.
I'm gonna learn how to play music so I can pick up chicks and do drugs and drink a lot. Like,
I guess.
okay,
I mean, I guess that's why everybody starts, but then you don't end up in like an extreme death metal. If you're in an extreme metal band or something like that, and you're expecting that to be your life, like I got news for you, pal. It's not.
yeah,
That's not really the path. You're here for the glory of battle,
yeah,
and
that's
enjoy it. You may find a seat in Valhalla, but
yeah.
you also may not.
Oh, shit. So is there a song on the new album that you like more than the others?
It's hard. Right, it changes from day to day, but yeah, I kind of like I like all of them, so it's tough. But if I'm gravitating towards like the quote unquote deep cuts of the record, like I think if I had to choose just one, I would say Despair Church is one that is like I think subject wise and like the song itself and all of the little like frills and and the chorus and everything. I love the way that one came together, and it's the most. I feel like it's one of the more personal songs for me on the record too. So um,
Oh
yeah,
yeah.
that's the one. That's the one. If I could say, if I was like, if anybody was like, you need to give me one song to encapsulate this record, I'd probably show them that one.
What's the what's that personal draw to it, if you don't mind me asking?
It's just sort of it's kind of I've been going through like a lot of other people probably in the past few years is just sort of maybe I guess ever since the whole COVID thing and the political mess that surrounds it in the world everything seems a little more dire. I feel like I've gone through of a change in the way I see the world, and everything feels way less rigid, and uh, it's just that the song's just sort of about letting go of that rigidity of like I know how the world works, and like I know how where we come from, and where all the answers to these big questions are basically solved, like in life. And there's people out there who believe that that's the case, and it just doesn't in my life now it feels like things are less solid than that, and in a good way, and not a scary way, in a way that like those things
Like,
like every discovery feels like we're in this like weird future where there's nothing left to discover, and there's no magic left in the world, and I've kind of shifted my perspective, and like a lot of that knowledge that they say it belongs to you people of the future, like is just like it fills you with despair after a long time, and it feels like the doctrine to believe certain things to be true when you do have the ability to question fundamental things in life, and I think that that's what that song's about in a roundabout sort of way.
well, I think everything, to your point, everything is very fluid,
Yeah.
right? Like, it's whatever we think about the world, there's probably 20 fucking other things that are going to show us something different, right? It's not so black and white.
Right. Like there's just, everything is undiscovered. Like that, I feel like growing up in, you live in kind of if you live in a kind of like doctrine society where like this happened and then this happened and then this happened and then we discovered this thing and then this, and that's why we are where we are now. But like you're discounting so much, and so many things history can miss, or the ambition of the human heart to get us from A to B, and things like that. I don't know. It seems like a lot of big concept type stuff, but it's in there and expressed in a way that I feel is concise and poetic.
Hell yeah. Well, that's cool. I'm glad that you let that out. I'm glad that I asked you about that because
Yeah.
I think a lot of times that the artist sometimes doesn't really want to dig into why it's so personal to them.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that's part of the problem of death metal and extreme metal is that like they you want a lot of I find a lot of artists want to keep their personal feelings out of things and they just want to like you know illustrate a spooky murder scene or something like that and it's like there is some feeling under there but you're not looking it in the eye and I think that's fine 9 times out of 10 but uh, I would like to be that that other band that looks the personal things more squarely.
Yeah. But everything's situational, right? Like bands it works
Of
for,
course.
some it doesn't, whatever.
Yeah, of course. Like, yeah, not every band needs to like confront their feelings on every track or whatever. Like, and we certainly don't. I think it's something that this genre could use from time to time.
I think every artist definitely needs it from time to time.
Yeah.
And maybe they do and they just don't want to tell. Whatever.
Yeah, right. And it's hard. It's easier to sing. I do find it's easier to sing your feelings in some kind of flowery prose than it is to sit there and tell somebody exactly what you mean.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, it is. So what city do you like hitting the most when you guys go out on the road?
Hmm. I get.
This is
I have
the
a
real
really.
fucking hard question.
It is because I'm getting so cynical in my old age that I don't like cities at all. Like I feel growing resentment towards having to visit cities as part of the job. Can I just go? Can we play in some rural areas every once in a while? No, got to be in another place with buildings and cars and people. Like it's just,
Yep.
I guess that's the ultra cynical answer. But I do. I don't know. I like a lot of places. Like, it's awesome to be in London. It's awesome to be in Helsinki. It's awesome to be in, freaking, I like Kansas City. Like, I think, parts of that place are cool. And, it's cool to be in Baltimore. Like, Baltimore's, it's sketchy. Like, like, I think it's cool, but, you know, it is the kind of thing where it's like I'm glad I only am visiting for the most part.
That's fair. Well,
Yeah.
I'll tell you, man, if you want to play a rural place, there's a festival in a small town in Kentucky. It's called Holler of Doom.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, it happens. So it happens every July. And it's just a good time. Like a bunch of fucking people get together, bands play, people are just
that's
having a
sweet.
great week.
We used to play out like we haven't played Kentucky probably since that Lorna Shore show that you talked about, but we used to play there all the damn time when we were like more local kind of regional or like just trying to spread our wings a little bit.
Yeah.
We found ourselves in Kentucky quite often. I remember having we played in like a bookstore one time in can't even remember where in Kentucky we were, but like we played in a bunch of different places and it was always fun. And then, once you hit the national touring circuit and they just send you around to all the
All the
biggest
major markets.
all the major markets that like you gotta it becomes very clinical and like
Yep.
whereas before we're just like, hooking up shows on MySpace and like driving out and playing. And
Yeah,
that,
someone's like, dude, I got a PA system. We'll play in my basement. You're like, let's fucking do it.
yeah, man, I do find myself occasionally pining for those days. Yeah.
Well, you let me know. I can make it happen fucking right here
All right.
whenever you
Well,
want.
yeah, we'll see. Yeah.
I'd love to have you play my basement. That shit would be dope.
Well, depends how many tickets you can sell at this point.
I mean, dude, we could pack some people down in
You
my
can pack
fucking
some people.
basement.
All right, sweet. I'm in. Let's.
Hell yeah, let's do this shit.
I'll have my people call your people.
Hell yeah, Adam. I know you've got shit to do, dude. I greatly appreciate the time that you've allotted me tonight, man. Thank you very
Yeah, of
much.
course. Yeah, man, it was fun. Thank you.
Hell yeah. Have a great night. Can't wait for the album.
Oh yeah, man. Thank you. You too.
Thanks. See ya.